The very first UFC pay-per-view of 2025, UFC 311, is going to take place at the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles on January 18th. And we finally have our main event and co-main event. We're going to talk about both of them. Arman Tsarukyan is going to be challenging Islam Makhachev in a rematch of their fight from a few years ago for the World Lightweight Championship in LA. And the co-main event is Merab Dvalishvili defending his Bantamweight Championship against Umar Nurmagomedov. It was looking like this fight was not going to happen until later in the year. There was talk about potentially Sean O'Malley getting a rematch with Merab. But here we are. We have our main event and co-main event, and we also have Jamahal Hill versus Jiri Prochazka on the card. So we're going to talk about UFC 311 a little bit. I'm going to give you some early predictions for these fights, okay? So stick around to hear my thoughts on UFC 311. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. And before we get started, please make sure to like, subscribe, drop a comment down below, all that YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. We are on the road to 2,000 subs. We're trying to hit 2,000 subs by the end of this year. If you want to support the channel further, you can become a channel member through the link down below or the join button on our channel homepage to get access to bonus content and help support the channel further. So thank you very much. Back to the video. All right, guys. So the UFC 311 main event, we have it right here. A rematch of their fight from 2019, which was Arman Tsarukyan's UFC debut on short notice. And he took Islam Makhachev to a decision. So very impressive UFC debut. And as Arman Tsarukyan worked his way up the lightweight division, a lot of people were wondering how a rematch between them would play out. And now we have it. Now, if he were to win, this would be Islam Makhachev's fourth defense of his lightweight title. I think at that point, we would definitely be talking about him moving up for double champ status. I think a fight between him and potentially like Shavkat Rakhmonov when that time comes around would be really interesting, because he said he's not going to fight Bilal given that they've trained together. So somebody would have to beat Bilal at welterweight for Islam Makhachev to move up, I would assume. Arman Tsarukyan is getting his much deserved title shot after his win at UFC 300 over Charles Oliveira. If it weren't for Arman Tsarukyan punching a fan on his UFC 300 walkout and getting suspended, this fight probably would have been the main event of UFC 308 in October. But because of that, this fight got pushed back because Arman was actually suspended because of it. And the UFC 308 main event ended up being Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria. This is a great fight. Obviously, super high level grappling with two guys that are, I'm not going to say elite on the feet, but they are very well-rounded fighters. When it comes to this fight, I think that Arman Tsarukyan is going to make it look really competitive for about 2 rounds, and then Islam's going to start to pull away. And I think that Islam's physicality and strength and just his confidence, having won like 12 fights in a row, whatever it is, I think that's going to carry him through this fight. And I think that he's going to end up winning a decision over Arman Tsarukyan. He might drop the first round. Islam does have great late rounds. We've seen him get late round finishes. And even though he faded in the first Volkanovski fight, as the fight went on, you do have his other fights where, for example, Dustin Poirier, he finished him with a submission in the 5th round. So there's that. I just think that I think Arman Tsarukyan is going to give Islam a very tough fight and just come up short. Like lose like a 48-47, where maybe Tsarukyan gets rounds like 2 and 4 or 1 and 4 or something like that. But my way too early prediction for this is going to be Islam Makhachev by decision, possibly a late round submission, but I think it's going to be a decision. These guys are just such high level grapplers. I don't think anyone is going to get submitted. Maybe Islam knocks him out. That's possible. But anyways, that's my prediction for that fight. Moving on to the co-main event that was announced is the fight that we didn't think we were going to see. Merab seemed to be ducking Umar this whole time. The co-main event, Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov for the Bantamweight Championship. After Noche UFC, when Merab beat Sean O'Malley, Dana said that this was the next fight. Turns out that that's what happened. So we have Merab Dvalishvili making his first title defense against Khabib Nurmagomedov's cousin, Umar, who I've talked a lot of shit about on this channel, just not about him personally, but about his rise to this fight, because he got gifted easy fights. He got gifted a ranking after beating a short notice UFC debuter and got dropped in the first round. They throw him like a number 13 ranking in that. And then he just weirdly like floats his way up to number 9 without fighting. And then they give him a fight against number 2, I believe, Corey Sandhagen. And there he goes. He wins that fight, and he's number 2, number 1 contender with 1 ranked win. Now, I do think that Corey Sandhagen is a very high-level win to have. It's a great name to have on your resume. I really wanted to see O'Malley versus Sandhagen for the belt, but maybe now we'll see it as a contenders fight, possibly as like a pay-per-view co-main or a fight night main event with fans or something like that. I think that Umar is a rough matchup for Merab, because Merab's a pain in the ass matchup for anybody, because he has this way of, he games the system. He games the system and he doesn't fight necessarily. He kind of treats it like a sport where he's like scoring points, like got the takedown, held him up against the fence, top control. Okay, put that round in the bag. You know, it's like winning. Like I used to play baseball and they used to say win each inning. Like they used to tell us that during games, win each inning. It just feels like that's how Merab is. He's like, yeah, just win the round. Time on top. It just doesn't feel like a Merab fight. Doesn't feel like a Merab, like doesn't feel like a fight all the time, to be honest. He's going up against, in my opinion, a nightmare matchup for him in Umar Nurmagomedov. I think Umar Nurmagomedov is going to smoke him. I think that Umar is really talented on the feet. I know people always talk about the Dagestani's grappling, but Umar's talented on the feet, even though he got dropped by a debuter. He is talented on the feet. So is Islam. And these two guys being in the same camp, fighting on the same card is sick. Khabib's probably going to be there to corner both of them. There's going to be some major UFC glazing over the Khabib disciples winning back-to-back title fights with Khabib in the corner, obviously. But personally, I think Merab is going to get smoked by Umar. I think he's going to get like 49-46. I just think that Umar is way too much on the front foot, way too good defensively grappling, offensively grappling, and on the feet. And I think he's just overall stronger. The only thing that is a little bit of a concern is his cardio. He did fade a little bit in the Corey Sandhagen fight, in my opinion. And Merab just has that endless gas tank. That's why his nickname's the Machine. I'm going to say that Umar wins this fight via pretty dominant decision and goes on to defend against maybe like a Peter Yan or something like that. Like a Peter Yan, or maybe like the winner of an O'Malley versus Sandhagen, something like that. Yeah, this is a good fight, guys. This is a really good fight. Both of these are super high-level fights. These are actually the best two guys that deserve to fighting for the belt. Like you have the champ fighting the #1 contender. I know he's ranked #2 because O'Malley's technically won, but this was the #1 contender they named a long time ago. So, you know, you have #1 contender going up against the champ, the rightful #1 contender going up against the champ at 135 and at 155. And it's an amazing card. We're going to take a look at the rest of the card as well. I live in Los Angeles and I might just have to scrape together enough shekels to go to this fight. And here we have the UFC 311 card. We're going to take a look at this. Just because it's a really great card. We got Islam versus Arman, as we talked about. Umar versus Merab Dvalishvili in the co-main event. We just did picks for that. We got Jiri Prochazka, Jamahal Hill, and I just did a video about that because there's all this beef between those guys and Alex Pereira surrounding this fight. I picked Jamahal Hill to KO Jiri, in my opinion. We'll see. And then you got Johnny Walker against Bogdan Guskov, and then you got Jailton Almeida going up against Sergey Spivak. And I mean, it looks like LA is getting an all male fights main card, and they're all good. They're all ranked too, semi-highly ranked, except for the Walker and Guskov fight. They're like top 15, but, and then you got Grant Dawson against Diego Ferreira, CDF, Carlos Diego Ferreira, as probably the feature prelim. That's a really good fight. Then you got Nakamura, undefeated Japanese prospect, going up against Muin Gafura, Eileen Perez, and Carol Hossa. Oh yeah, you got Kevin Holland and Rainer de Ritter on that as well. Yeah, wow, LA's getting a really good card. I'll probably take Rainer de Ritter to beat Kevin Holland too. I just don't like the way that Kevin Holland has looked recently. And then we also have Zachary Reese, who had a sick knockout very recently, going up against like the best friend of this channel, Cedricus Dumas. If you guys don't know, me and Cedricus Dumas are very good friends. Really gonna support him. Might have to go say what's up to him, you know. No, just kidding. He hates me. We also have Peyton Talbot on the card against Heoni Barcelos, which is a big step up. It's not like a ranked guy, but it's not a bum. Like this is actually a test. 18-5 veteran. And then you got Ricky Tercios up against Bernardo Sapage, I think it actually is. But Sapage was actually the very first fight companion I did on this channel was Rosenstrike Gaziev card. And that was when Sapai got viciously KO'd by Vinicius Oliveira. So anyways, as you can see, we have 12 fights announced. Maybe we'll get 1 or 2 more, but that's essentially the whole card. And the card's like less than 5 weeks away. Or no, it's about 6 weeks away. You know, Tercio Sapai, Peyton Talbot's on the card, 2 pretty good middleweight prospects, Kevin Holland, Renner de Ritter, Eileen Perez, Carol Hossa. Then you got 2 good prospects at 135, and then Grant Dawson, CDF, Jailton Almeida, Sergey Spivak, Johnny Walker, Bogdan Guskov, and then we have 3 killer fights to cap the card. I mean, Jiri versus Jamahal Hill, banger fight, fireworks guaranteed. Merab versus Umar, the fight that should be happening, even though I don't like it, but the fight that should be happening. They said that Umar's the #1 contender. And then Islam versus Arman Tsarukyan, which is a crazy high-level fight. These two fights right here, very high level. I mean, obviously the other ones are too, but very, very high level MMA in the co-main event and the main event. So let me know what you guys think down below. UFC 311, what fight are you most excited for? Who's going to win between Islam and Arman? Who's going to win between Umar and Merab? And who's going to win between Jamahal and Jiri? And actually, who's going to win between Kevin Holland and Renner de Ritter? So let me know your thoughts down below. I'm Wyatt. This is Fight Society. Thanks for watching this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. If you want access to bonus content, become a channel member today by clicking the join button on our channel homepage or the link down below this video. If you're interested in some non-MMA content from me, go check out my podcast, What's Up Bro, with Wyatt and Bo, in the link down below. Go watch this suggested video, and I'll see you next time.